Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. Today's presentation is 15 tips for writing effective email marketing copy, and it's a part of the Wyoming Women's Business Center's Business Education webinar series. In case we haven't met, my name is Jessica Brower. I'm the marketing director at the Wyoming Women's Business Center, and I will be your speaker today. Before we start, I do want to point out the Zoom control panel on your screen. And I want to call attention to both the Q&A and the chat function. If you have any comments or questions during the webinar today, I'd like you to use those. If you haven't yet, feel free to pop into the chat and introduce yourself and share where you're joining us from. I love to be able to meet who's in the virtual room as best I can. As you may have heard, this webinar is being recorded, and a link to access the recording via Zoom will be sent out to all registrants shortly after the live event. So feel free to share that link with your peers or friends, anybody who you think would benefit from today's content. If you're joining us live, a survey will launch shortly after we close the presentation. If you could stay on the line and complete that, it does provide us and our funding partners with valuable information. And just a reminder, all participants are muted to minimize any background noise. So you can see here what you can expect from today's presentation. We're going to go over just a little bit of information about the WWBC, then hop into our content, followed by some time for question and answer. And welcome to all of you who are introducing yourselves in the chat. So great to have you here. So the Wyoming Women's Business Center is a nonprofit organization, and our mission is to enable and empower Wyoming entrepreneurs with a special emphasis on women. Now we do that through 4 distinct programs currently. The first is our business counseling and our training program. That's always free. That's what brought you here today. The second is our microloan program, which offers loans from $500 to $50,000 for businesses that have been denied from a traditional lending source. And then we have our Artist Development Center that's run in conjunction with our Works of Wyoming store in downtown Laramie and also online at worksofwyoming.com. And lastly, we have the B2B Creative Services Program, which we just launched yesterday on June 1st. So this program provides funding for creative service businesses to work with select WWBC clients on professional photography and videography to create digital assets to enhance their existing online presence. You can learn about all of these on our website at wyomingwomen.org. And what I want to get across to you is that we specialize in micro enterprises. And you may be asking, what is a micro enterprise? This is going to be a business that has less than 6 employees. The majority are 1 or 2 person businesses, and these businesses were able to launch for under $35,000. So businesses like yoga studios, hairstylists, marketing consultants, photographers, cleaning services, these are examples of the kinds of clients we work with. So if you're not already a client of the WWBC and you'd like to be, it's quick and easy. You can sign up by going to wyomingwomen.org and clicking that sign up now button that's at the very top of the page. So with that, let's get started. So I'm just going to start with a quick question, and just by a raise of digital hands, do you currently have an email list for your business? If you do, then go ahead and just press that hand button and it will raise your hand and I can see your little emoji hands going up. Maybe just a few more moments. Awesome. Well, it looks like there's a handful of you who do currently have an email list and quite a few of you who don't. And that is perfectly fine. We're just here today to share some tips about demystifying this, to make it a little bit easier if you're feeling intimidated by starting a list. And if you already have a list, to maybe hone in on what you're currently doing. So tip number 1 is know your audience. Who are you talking to? Who is this email going to? Your voice is going to change depending on who you're speaking to and what it is you're speaking about. Before you engage in any marketing, ideally, you have a clear understanding of your business's voice and your audience's needs. So if you think about it, quality email copy for a hair salon is going to look a lot different than quality email copy for an artisan soap maker. So this foundational work of getting to know your audience is incredibly important, and the thing I speak about most in these webinars, no doubt. So who are you speaking to? What does their life look like? How are you solving a problem for them? And what does this relationship you have with them, what does that look like? And how does it feel? Is it light and uplifting? Or maybe it's more serious and assertive? Maybe you use humor or a certain kind of language. These are all really important details to know before you even get started writing your message. Similarly, number 2, know your goal. All your marketing efforts need to have a goal in mind. Now, having this goal in mind does 2 things for you. Number 1, it helps you focus in, and it eliminates that need to try to do everything and to do all for everyone. With one specific goal in mind, you can create a more powerful and effective message. And not only does this save you time, it's what makes good marketing really good. Number 2, this goal gives you a way to measure your performance. This allows you to check in and evaluate how your efforts are going. Holistically, marketing is experimental. And even the best of marketers create campaigns with a hypothesis. Now, if you don't have a way to measure, there's no way to really know how effective that work was. So these goals can vary greatly, email to email. Perhaps in one email, you're looking to sell a product, or another, you're looking to get clicks onto a new web page. Maybe you want to add followers to your email list by asking them to forward it to a friend, or you're selling tickets to an event. So for example, the goal of the Wyoming Women's Business Center's emails, which maybe brought you to this webinar, was to get attendees. So I'm able to measure the success of those emails by the number of registrants for the webinar. And this helps me to further market the webinars down the line. It gives me more information to work with. Number 3, write a subject line with purpose. Did you know that 47% of email recipients open an email based on the subject line alone? And at the same time, 69% of email recipients report email as spam based solely on the subject line. So this subject line is the first introduction of your content to your audience, and therefore it carries a lot of weight. How you present it ultimately will depend on you and your business and your audience. But regardless, you want to appeal to your ideal audience psychologically. Are you solving a problem for them? Is there a quick approaching deadline you need to let them know of, alert them of? Are you sharing a product you know they won't want to miss? So make sure you're using the small but mighty subject line to get your audience interested in taking that first step and opening the email. And again, remember, marketing is ultimately an experiment. Just play around and see what works, see what you like, see what you don't like. 4, keep it short and sweet. So this is the good news. You might think 125 words isn't enough to fully convey a marketing message, but the truth of the matter is, that's all you need. We're all pretty lazy readers, especially when it comes to reading online content and when we're in our inbox. And this is just assuming that we're going to read the whole thing. So as you create your emails, think about how you can keep things brief and easy to consume. So things like bulleted lists, short paragraphs, descriptive titles to break up text. These all help us to digest the content you're presenting without getting overwhelmed by blocks of text and clicking away. 5, include a call to action. A call to action is an element of marketing that is non-negotiable in my book. So what is a call to action? This is the request of you as the creator of the content to your audience, asking them to do something. Buy this, click this, sign up for this, go to this link, go to this place. So I divide these call to actions into two categories in my mind. There's soft calls to action and hard calls to action. So soft calls to action are going to be a lighter lift. Things like comment below, share with a friend, react with an emoji. And your hard call to action is going to be a heavier lift. So things like make a purchase, sign up for a list, download something, buy a ticket, show up at an event. Every single email you send should have a clear call to action for your audience. It could be a soft call to action, it could be a hard call to action. I think they both are incredibly important. So you'll see in the example on the screen, that button is going to be the call to action. That's what's going to take people from the email to the online store, where they're then going to browse and ideally make a purchase. Number 6, pay attention to the details. Design is an element of marketing that we could deep dive endlessly, and I'm not going to do that. I understand that you're all here because you have businesses to run and you need marketing that helps you attract and retain your customers and your audience, and you need to keep that going. So that said, it is important for everyone to have an understanding of the basics of design and to know what can be a real hindrance to readers when they're engaging with online content. So some things to consider first are color. Can you actually read them on the screen? Or does it look like this image on the screen that is kind of nauseating to even look at? So pick a couple colors and ask people how they can read them, if they're struggling or not. Same with fonts. Are they legible? So often we can pick these really pretty or really cool fonts, and then when there's bigger blocks of text of them, it's just too much to read. It's really hard to digest. So make sure you can read them and just pick a couple of them. You don't need a lot. White space. White space can be used to create breathing room for your text as well as your graphic elements. This is a great way to create an email that looks substantial while staying with that low word count we talked about before. Number 7, incentivize and reward your audience. So doing this for your followers is a great way to build your email list, especially if you're a new business or you're new to email marketing and you're one of the folks in the room here who doesn't have a list yet. So you know your audience and their needs. So that means you can create an incentive for them to sign up for your list. So if you're a retailer, maybe that's a 20% coupon for your store. Or if you're a service provider, maybe you provide access to a tutorial video or a PDF article or a document that's really useful based on your business and the needs of your customer. So for example, a hair salon could send a video tutorial of an updo for holiday parties, while an accountant could provide a template spreadsheet for managing budgets. Regardless, you're providing something of value and you're collecting their email in return. Number 8, use your personality. Again, this comes back to knowing your brand and your audience. Your customers have built a connection with you, and they'll be more responsive to content that sounds like it's coming from you versus boring, dry content that could have just been copied and pasted for anyone or any business. So only you are going to know how to add this. Maybe you use a certain kind of language or phrases, include those. So if you're known for your humor, reflect that in your emails. If you know your customers, or if your customers know that you always have the best book recommendations, what if you included one of those? So there's so many options here, and all of these are unique to you and your business. So again, start to play and see how your audience responds. And remember, they want to see a message from you. Include quality visuals. We've already talked about design, and this is very similar. So here I'm talking more about photos and graphics. So if you're struggling to get quality photos for your social media, I really suggest checking out the Wyoming Women's Business Center's YouTube channel. There's loads of content on taking photos and video, creating graphics with free tools. All these videos are free to you. So some things to keep in mind about picking visuals. Make sure your photos are clear. Don't stretch them out of proportion, which I did to this very odd photo that's on the screen of this Santa man and his pizza. And if you use stock photography, make sure it makes sense. This image does not make sense. And I had a great time browsing bad stock photography. It was a really great way to distract myself from my work. And ultimately I picked this one, but trust me, there are thousands of images out there that don't do anyone any favors. So a boring photo can detract your reader the same way a bad subject line can prompt them to delete without opening. So make sure you're picking quality images, and ideally you're featuring you or your product, the space you have, your community, your customers. Remembering your customers are connected to this. They're not connected to a model on the internet and a stock photo. 10, be informative. You know the drill here. This is just like junior high English class. You need your 5 W's and your 1 H in every email. Who, what, why, where, when, how. This ensures that you get all of the information your audience needs and doesn't leave them with questions. Unlike junior high, we don't need 5 paragraphs. Likely, you can get all this information into just a couple of sentences. So here's an example. Are you hosting a Halloween party this month? There's your who. Buy a dozen spooky sugar cookies, that's your what, to treat your guests, that's your why, at Sweets Bakery, your where. Place your order before October 29th at 5 p.m. When? By visiting ourwebsite.com and clicking Place My Halloween Order at the top of the page. Everything you need is there. Who, what, why, where, when, and how. Oftentimes, your how and that call to action are going to be one and the same. Eleven, don't be afraid to follow up. You've probably seen this acronym before, ICYMI, in case you missed it. This became big on Twitter years and years ago. I feel like I'm dating myself there, but it's continued to be a way to signify a nudge to circle back to content. So you certainly don't have to use this language. However, offering a reminder of your messaging is really important. Oftentimes it can feel really repetitive to market your business. You say a lot of the same things over and over again, and that can feel like you're being obnoxious or just really redundant. And the truth of the matter is, you are one voice among so many, especially on the internet. First off, it's likely that many people will not see your email because they blow past it in their inbox. They're busy, whatever, they have stuff going on. Second off, even if they do see it, they likely need a reminder of what it is you'd like them to do. Just because they haven't made the purchase or bought the ticket, signed up for the list, or done whatever it is you asked of them, it doesn't mean they don't want to. Just think, how many times have you seen a marketing message while you were scrolling through your phone in the line at the grocery store, and you told yourself, oh, I'm going to come back to this. And then you forget because you got busy, you drove home, you made dinner, and then you got into the next day and you completely forgot that you had that intention to buy the product. So reminders help recapture. So in a bit, we're going to talk about open rates on emails, which further drives this home, this necessity to continue to send messages, even when it feels like all you hear is crickets. Personalize. If you're using an email software program like MailChimp or Constant Contact, you have the opportunity to personalize. So you'll see an example of this here at the top where it says, hey, Jane, check out our new season. This adds the recipient's name or other data that you collect when they sign up for your list into the body of the email and makes it feel more personal, even though it's a mass email. So for example, instead of it just saying, hey there, it would say, hey, Jessica. So if this is something you have the ability to do, try playing with it. It's reported that personalized email can increase open rates in emails by around 14%, which is significant. That said, make sure you're collecting the right data. If there's an error on the back end, you could end up with a message that is more of a turn off than a nice touch if the name is wrong or blank. And you see that on the bottom of the screen. Here's an example of there being an error. And I think we've all received emails like this and thought, oh, well, that's odd. 13, double check and test. This is a quick reminder of what you already know. Take a moment to step away from your email and then return with fresh eyes and check for typos, make sure your content is clear, double check that all of your links are working and that you're sending your audience where you want them to go and not to a broken link. Many email services have the option to send a test email, which means you could send it to yourself and even a friend or a colleague to test in their inbox and see how it looks as a recipient. The more eyes, the better. 14, don't stop collecting. Your email list is living and breathing. People are going to unsubscribe when your content is no longer relevant to them. And that's not personal. So maybe you're a wedding photographer and they've been married for many years now. They just don't need you anymore. Or maybe they moved out of town and it's not relevant, or their financial situation changed. None of these things are a reflection of your worthiness as a business owner. So as you see numbers go down on your email list, which you will, everybody does, know that you can also be adding new audience members who do need your content now and adding numbers to your list. So this is why the work never stops on collecting emails. Make sure you're gathering information from customers and experimenting with incentives to sign up and keeping movement into your email list. There isn't a perfect destination of now I have 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, I can stop asking. It doesn't work like that. Now 15, understand your open rate. So an open rate is the percentage of people who open your email. You'll see here a good open rate is 12 to 25%. Now the click-through rate, on the other hand, is the percentage of subscribers who click a link within your email. So they open the email, they read enough to know they want to click the button and they click the button. A good click-through rate is only 2 to 5%. You could send 100 emails and 2 people will click the button. Now, this is true for everybody. Every mass email you get, these rates apply. Click to open rate is how many click-throughs or clicks on a link in your email occur from those who opened your email. So a good click to open rate is 10 to 22%. The click to open rate, sometimes you'll see that reported in analytics, sometimes you won't. That click through and that open rate, those are the ones to pay attention to. My main goal with sharing this information with you is to understand how to set a realistic goal. And if you're going to start by sending emails just from your standard email provider, your email address, and not from an email provider, you're not going to know this data. But now you know this is kind of what to expect. And you know, 100% open rate is unlikely. Even a 25% open rate is really on the high end. So in email marketing, you can expect that your message is not going to be received by many. Don't let this make you stop. And just think about it. It's not you, it's not personal, it's not your business. It's us. We have so many emails. We all have so many emails. And just a bonus, last but not least, watch your inbox for inspiration and be on the lookout for emails that you like. What emails do you find yourself actually opening? And which ones are you immediately deleting and why? What's happening there? So spend some time combing through your inbox and seeing what it is about these emails that you like and don't like. And you can use these topics that we chatted about today just as a checklist. What was the subject line? What was the length of the email? What did the design elements look like? What was the call to action? And was that clear? Did you know what they were asking you to do? You can learn a lot by looking at others, and I highly suggest you spend some time doing so. So with that, I'm going to open it up for questions. And go ahead and type those into that Q&A section. And while you do that, I'm going to go over just a little bit of information. The Wyoming Women's Business Center is made possible through several partnership agencies. You can see their logos here at the top of the screen. Our primary funding comes from the U.S. Small Business Administration and the Wyoming Business Council. We're very thankful for the support and guidance and look forward to the work that we get to do ahead. And just a reminder that the WWBC is a standalone 501c3 nonprofit, and every donation made to our organization is tax deductible and goes directly to our mission of empowering Wyoming entrepreneurs through our counseling, training, and microfinance programs. If you feel the webinar was valuable to you, I encourage you to go to our website and consider a micro gift. Your $5 gift can make a difference in the programming we can offer. And if you liked today's training, we always have more coming up. You'll see on the screen some of our upcoming webinars. Everything from artist development to financials, another start of our Dream Builder business planning cohort. You can go to wyomingwomen.org and click on the training tab to learn more about all of these and register for free. And remember, if you're unable to attend the live event, when you register, you do receive a link to the recording in your inbox. So go ahead and register anyways. All right. So I have a question here from Gladys. Do you have resources or know of a webinar that gives insights about how to be super conscious about emails among professionals? Sometimes I can come off too rushing or inconsiderate, but not on purpose. I do my best to sound nice, but it doesn't always come off that way. You know, Gladys, that's probably a topic in and of itself. And I wish I had a webinar off the top of my head that I could offer you, but I don't have anything. I think that's a very interesting topic. And I think, you know, a topic that comes up particularly among professional women. So I'm gonna write a note about that, and maybe you'll see a webinar from us on that in the future, but best of luck in doing some research on that. I'm just gonna, oh, Laura Baker shared a conference. So good to know. Thank you for sharing that, Laura. So she shared that over in the chat if anybody's looking for details. Jane asks, where can we find tutorials on how to build our list? So Jane, my suggestion would be to research wherever you like to do your small business research. So maybe that's by watching YouTube videos, or maybe you do that on Google and look for articles. Whatever platform you're using is going to have lots of content. So I use Constant Contact for the Women's Business Center, but I've also used MailChimp for other businesses, and both have a really robust resources section. So my suggestion would be to take a look at those websites and see what they have to offer. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. I appreciate you all joining me on what could have been your lunch hour. And just a quick reminder that that survey will pop up as soon as I end the webinar. If you could stay on the line and complete that, I do really appreciate that. I hope you all have a lovely afternoon, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon.